Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So it's time to do a new build video. This is going to be the gilded build, and it's all about gold, just stacking up cash. And we're not talking about, maxing out fares, not that kind of stuff. Like, what can we lean into to maximize profits? Who has access to that kind of stuff in this game, right? Because there are a few clans, although the first thing I'm going to say is that this is very niche, because I've said it before, I feel like troops, muskets, and cavalry, those three are very well fleshed out in this game. Those three builds. After those three, it just gets, you're in the weeds after that. You're going you're really like, not scraping to find different things to build, but you have to really jump through some hoops to get something off the ground that's anywhere near unique, be outside of those three, right? So the gold, amassing gold is like that, and it's reflected in the officers. Okay, I don't even know if I can do a top 5 for this. I'm gonna try. It might just have to be a top 3 if I'm being honest. Actually, you know what? We can get to we can get to top 5. But I feel like the forces who can best utilize a guild build aren't actually the forces that facilitate it. So you'll see in a second. So we're using the Sadayori Rokaku clan. Sadayori led for this reason, because he has access to one of the unique conservator roles. So when it comes to gold, okay, outside of just standard affair, building up fare and building up your fares, building some trading towns, okay, that's standard fare. What makes this unique is the landmarks, the big money landmarks that you can find in the game, and conservator roles. Those two things in tandem with each other, okay? So I'm going to start with the landmarks. Now, yes, it's true that you do get you do get some gold for temples and churches, 200 and 300 gold for those, but those are kind of all over the place, and they're more there to facilitate a different type of build. The gold is just like a secondary effect. They're really there to facilitate the policies that they unlock and stuff like that. So when it comes to gold for this, you're looking for large fares, you're looking for silver mines, and the big two are gold mines and ports. Okay, these are the big two. And silver mines, I mean, they're essentially the same, a little bit less gold. So let's start with the gold mines, right? So I'm going to use the landmarks, which, if you don't know, you can go to your landmarks here, highlight everything specifically so you can see them on the map. I highly recommend doing this when you're just shooting the shit on the map and you're just looking through to try to get any ideas. Always do this. Okay, so gold mines are pretty much focused in one big area. Shingen's domain. Kai and Shinano. Those are where the gold mines are located, primarily, okay? And the secondary area is the northeast. Northeastern Japan. I think this is, I mean, this is Oshu right here. I'm not sure what you would call this region. I don't know. Somebody let me know in the comments. But northeastern Japan has access to quite a few gold mines as well up here. So the Nanbu, the Yanto, the Mogami clans, they're right around the area. Those are the only two areas. Outside of that, they're kind of scattered. You might have a couple here and there, but there's not enough to focus anywhere else, okay? So gold mines, in case you didn't know, they give you 2,500. They increased the commerce cap by 2,500. Silver mines do 2,000, which again, there's there's some silver mines, but they're not as numerous. I think the biggest concentration is probably Chogoku up here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here. And there's one up here too. And the So clan's got. Okay. Anyway, you want to basically focus gold mines if you can. So if you're going to be playing as a clan here, keep in mind you can lean into the gold build because of that. Or if you're in the northeast especially, which we'll cover in a second. The secondary landmark that's really important, it's not large fair. Well, you would think large fair can help, but again, it's not quite enough. The other big one is the trading ports. Okay, so trading ports give you 1,500 gold. And the best thing about trading ports is that they're damn near everywhere on the map. But everywhere that has access to, sea access, right? But to cover the places that are most concentrated, it's going to be Kyushu, of course, northern Kyushu, Shikoku, all of the island of Shikoku. And Shikoku actually, you can really focus gold with Shikoku, because, just with the ports, because of the landmark. This landmark right here that the Miyoshi have access to, easiest trade port additions. So you can get your ports right away. So if you've played as the Miyoshi, you've probably noticed this already, that you're able to get your ports almost immediately. So Shikoku is the second area. And then you have around the capital, of course, you can kind of see where like the major areas of commerce, the major areas where their trading comes in, right? Right here in Owari, and then Kanto. All the sea access around Kanto. Okay? And there's even a couple up north, like the Uesugi, I think are one of the biggest forces to have access up here in the north. In my Kenshin run, I was able to get a lot of ports right away. So, again, most of the areas where you could see, like, what's the word I'm looking for? An inlet, where you could form docks and stuff like that. You can see anywhere that you would expect there to be a port, there's probably a port, which is kind of nice. But the most concentrated areas, easily, Shikoku, northern Kyushu, and Owari. Owari and Kanto, which is really nice. Those are the two big landmarks, okay? Those are the two big landmarks that you really want. Again, temples and churches, 200 gold, 300 gold. It's not really that big of a deal when it comes to amassing wealth. It's more for facilitating different builds. And then large fairs will give you about 1,000 gold each. It's decent, but it's not enough bang for your buck. We want like a much, much, much bigger yield. So trade port is the second highest, and gold mines and silver mines. If you're lucky enough to get a silver mine, again, it's not something that I'd really look for. I'd look for the gold mines or the ports. Okay, focus those two things, especially if you're in Shikoku Island, because you can get that landmark, right? Now, outside of the landmarks, let's look at the conservator roles, of which there are only 3. Okay, there's only 3 conservator roles, and I picked Sadayori for this reason, because he has one of them. So the first type of conservator role is called free market promoter. Free market promoter actually gives you the biggest yield, okay? Gives you the most, you can get the most gold out of all 3 of the following conservator roles. This one gives you the most gold, but it has the biggest drawback. That's why it gives you the most, because it decreases soldiers. So this is the hardest one to get to work, okay? This is easily the hardest one. The other ones are, you could almost say that the other ones are workable, and this one is untenable, okay? Although I look forward to trying it someday. So free market promoter, I'm just going to read you guys the numbers. Actually, you know what I can do? I can do one better. I can show you guys. We can go to edit. We'll go to Sadayori here. And let's look at it. Let's look at the special. So we'll just organize them by gold here, and let's find free market promoter. And it's interesting because his clan specifically has, the Rokaku clan, they specifically have access to all of them. Like, all the free market promoter. Outside of them, it's pretty rare to find this, oh, I screwed it up. It's pretty rare to find this conservator role. Like I said, all 3 of these are rare. Okay, so here they are, free market promoter. So you have the 3 tiers. Normal is blue. Good is silver, and special is the gold-plated. The gold-plated ones are always the hardest ones to find. They give you the most, but they have the biggest drawback. So we can see here the numbers. And Sodayaru has increases your gold by 50%, which is absolutely insane, because gold is everything in this game. You know, if I didn't, I don't know if I even mentioned, like, the reason we're highlighting this build is because if you've played as the Shogun, who has an insane treasury, you know that when you have a substantial amount of money put away in the treasury, I mean, you can do anything that you want in this game. It facilitates everything else, all your other strategies, okay? Even if you don't want to have a specific strategy, just by having a lot of gold, you can, you know, haggle in diplomacy. You can just build your generic build up that much faster. So it's just, again, it facilitates everything. So the gold, 50%, the drawback is insane, minus 35% soldiers. Silver, 25%, minus 20% soldiers, still insane. 20%, that's a fifth of your army. That's brutal. I've taken this trade-off with cavalry for the Uesugi to get my cavalry division going. I can't imagine getting 20% less soldiers and not seeing a payoff that is immediately reflected on the battlefield. Okay, taking this trade-off for cavalry damage made sense. I can't imagine taking this trade-off just to get more gold, but again, that's why this is the worst one. And then the blue one, the tier 1, I feel like this is the one that's manageable. 15%, it's small. I mean, it's only 15%, but if you're focusing your fairs, your ports, if you're lucky enough to focus gold mines, this is worth it. 10% less soldiers, you know, you can live with it. You might notice it, but you're going to live with it. These two, I feel like, are... I'm not going to say untenable for 20%. I'm just going to say very brutal. You know, very brutal. But this one feels untenable right here. This ability feels untenable. But like I said, one day I will definitely try Rokaku, and I will retire Sadayori right away, just to, you know, we'll put Jote in just to try this out to see how bad this really is. Okay, so this is the first. This is the first of the 3 conservator roles. Very few officers have it. The main clan that has it is the Rokaku. That's why I wanted to show them off on this one here. Now let's cover the other 2. So the other 2 are all the way over here. One thing you're going to notice about the conservator roles that pertain to gold, right? They're on the clans that facilitate it are on the bookends of Japan. So the western side here, these clans right here, these small clans, the So clan, the Matsura clan, the Arima clan, these clans facilitate the gilded build. And all the way over here on the eastern side, like I just showed you guys all the gold mines, of course, but the Anto clan, the Kakizaki clan, and to some extent the Nanbu clan can facilitate a gold build. The Nanbu, just because of the fact that they're near the gold mines. They're the most equipped to start taking over. So it's outside of the center, outside of picking Rokaku for conservator roles, and to some extent the Oda have a few guys who have free market promoter. There is nobody else. It's either right dead in the middle with the Rokaku here, or the bookends. Okay, so that's why I said it's kind of hard to do a top 5 with this, but I think you can do it. I guess I can do it, yeah. Anyway, so the So clan. The So clan has the trade tenant, which the trade tenant is the one that's most manageable. This is the best way to increase your gold income through conservator role. Increases gold income, decreases county settlement seizure speed. The easiest drawback to live with is this one right here. So let's look under the hood here. I think I can pop it up with anybody here, and I'll show you guys. Trade tenant with the T, there it is. Okay, so trade tenant, the special, 30% more gold, 50% county settlement seizure speed. Again, your county's being settled at a slower rate. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a little bit annoying, but it's far preferable to losing soldiers like the Rokaku are dealing with. So, but you'll notice that the cap is a lot lower. It's only 30%. Okay, free market promoter gives you 50%. That's why I'm saying free market promoter is like, you have to really have a plan put together. It does pay off, but you could tell that the designers, when they made the game, they were like, The drawback is soldiers, which is the lifeblood. So the payoff has to be huge. That's why that's 50%. This one's only 30%, but still, 30% is insane. 30% more gold, even 15%. I'd say 15% is where you really start to notice it. Okay? 10% you might never notice. You know, this right here, I wouldn't use 10%, but 15% is where I'd start. So the silver trade tenant, 15% more gold, 30% decrease in county settlement seizure speed. Again, it's a little annoying, but it's far preferable to losing the soldiers, okay? What's his name? Yoshishige. Yoshishige has access to that. He also has maritime advice, which maritime laws increases your commerce. If you guys didn't know, or if you've never used it before, it's actually pretty good. So it stacks. It's not this trait, this policy by itself doesn't do much because it's just a small passive increase to fair commerce, but when you stack it together with trade tenant, all of a sudden it just multiplies. It becomes a multiplier for trade tenant essentially. So pairing it with this is the best possible pairing for gold, believe it or not. This is the best. So the Soul Clan actually reigns supreme. If they can get, you know, if they can get off the ground, right? Now, the other two clans here, same thing. Trade tenant. There's always the clans over here on this side. That's kind of their specialty. That's kind of what they do. So these guys have trade tenant and code of the merchant, which is not bad. Okay. Now the last one, the last conservator role. Just gonna pull it up here so you guys can see. The last one is kind of middle of the ground. It's not as bad as soldiers, of course. I mean, what can be as bad as soldiers? Nothing really. Let me find it. Organize. Alright, there it is. The rice merchant. So rice merchant increases gold. Again, same cap. See the trade tenant? Trade tenant and rice merchant have exactly the same tiers. They go up the same, at least in the bonuses. 10, 15, and 30%. You can see it there. Normal, good, and special. But the drawback for rice merchant is your harvest. Which, if you guys don't know, harvest affects your recovery speed after your soldiers march out. So, when you deploy your soldiers, the harvest affects how quickly it takes to recover all the food that's been spent, the recovery rate. So, not as bad as soldiers, but it's still, you know what I mean? This is still kind of annoying. You can build to offset it, of course. You can build rice dealers to make more harvest, and I think that's the idea of the rice merchant. If you think about it thematically, if you're going to lean into a rice merchant to get your gold build off the ground, then it would make sense to build extra rice patties to increase your harvest, because you're going to be offloading a bunch of it to increase your gold. So I kind of like the theme there, just like the trade tenant has kind of the same theme. The guys who have trade tenant have access to maritime laws. You know, it's kind of cool. But the penalty, 40% at the very top, again, I feel like it's steep. That's a steep cost. That's not something that you can just start off with right away. You know, it's just not something that you can right away just say, okay, turn this on, level 3 gold, 40% less harvest. No, because as soon as you march out, you will feel the difference. You will feel the difference because you won't be able to bounce back as quickly. So, and again, you can offset it. You can just build more trade towns. You know, you can buy more food whenever you're short and you need a quick hit, but it's not, you know, I don't recommend it. So those are the big three. The one that I recommend, of course, trade tenant. I recommend trade tenant. I don't recommend free market promoter until you're like, I don't know, you have to be, I would say, fairly advanced player to play with free market promoter. I don't want to try it myself, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to try it out to see if it's tenable, but I don't think that it is. I feel like free market promoter, the reason that Sotoriaru has it is because he's built to be very diplomatic in the center. So I think that's why Sadayori has it. He's built to be a very diplomatic daimyo. So having less soldiers is fine. Also, the territory that he has is huge. So having that decrease in soldiers is not going to affect him too much, right? So it's almost like it was created for him. That's why it was given. That's why he's given that gold-plated one. But for the most part, I do not recommend Free Market Promoter. I put that one at the bottom, and then I'd put Rice Merchant second place because it is manageable, and then Trade Tenant at number 1 because Trade Tenant, all Trade Tenant is doing is decreasing how fast you seize stuff. But you're still going to seize it. It's just going to take a little longer. Or you know what you can do? You can wait for your whatever key thing you need, focus that territory down, seize it first, and then turn on Trade Tenant. So it's very manageable. It's the easiest one to manage. This one's easily the worst. That's why the benefit is so huge. It's almost a trap. You know, 50% more gold, but how is that going to help you when you can't field any armies? You know what I mean? That's the interesting thing about it. So anyway, those are the ways. I mean, those 3 conservator roles and then the landmarks. You're going to want to look at your landmarks, and just looking at your landmarks will tell you kind of what clans you want to go with, because there's a lot of clans that can kind of double dip. So for example, the Rokaku here have access to 2 ports, so that's going to help with free market commerce, right? If we go over here to Shikoku, the Miyoshi have access to the port here, or anybody who wants to take over the island. There's plenty of port access, and then you can target specific areas if you want to maximize gold. Again, the northeast here, the northwest is full of ports. And then when you go to gold mines, which is the highest yield in the game, 2,500 gold is nothing to laugh at. Shingen's domain, of course, but I don't think you're going to find any officers that will help you with the conservator role. So in this, you're just straightforward, and I would honestly say that it's almost a trap to try to do this as the Takido, because you're always going to be fighting in the beginning. So much of your energy is going to be focused on warring that I don't know that it's even something that you can really focus on. I think you're going to be busy fighting all the time. So it's going to become an afterthought here. So this almost feels like a trap. The only place where the gold mines are tenable is the northeast. These are the areas where you actually have enough time to build up if you want to. If you really want to maximize and get it off the ground. So, yeah, outside of that, like I said, large fairs are in the capital. Temples and churches, the yield's not quite enough to really matter. So I wouldn't worry about those two. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the gilded build. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, and that's because there's not a lot of depth to it. But what is there's enough here to really stack some serious cash. Okay, there's enough here to really stack some serious cash. So that's why I wanted to cover it, because as I was looking at it, it gave me some ideas for some clans to play, so that's why I wanted to get this one out, of course, to give everyone else some ideas. In case you're trying to figure out what else you want to try in the game. The idea of stacking a bunch of cash, the idea of playing as the Rokaku here, and sitting here and saying, okay, let's just make a bunch of wealth, and then leverage that wealth to build alliances, so that we only have to fight a war when we absolutely have to, because we're going to have less soldiers, but we'll use our wealth to kind of bribe our way through these wars. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So although free market promoter is really punishing, I'm kind of glad that Koei did it anyway, just for those of us who like to experiment, But yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. Pretty short and sweet, honestly, on this one. I'll have a top five gilded build clans in the future. Now that I'm thinking more and more on it, I'm like, actually, it's pretty easy to put together a top 5. Even a top 10 could be done with this. It's just that the way that it's distributed, the way that this network is distributed, it's very focused on only a few areas in the whole map. So it feels like there's not a lot on that bone, but there is. It's just that the geography, the area that it's in, it's very, very limited. Again, most of these builds are going to be more limited once you go beyond muskets, cavalry, and soldiers, your builds are going to get more and more niche, you know? So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Till then, take care.